Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys for Saturday, April the 7th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, joined by Dana Lane and Alex B. Smith. Andrew not with us, but he sent me plays, so we will recite those as we go along. It is the final Saturday of the NHL regular season as the final playoff positions will be locked up. We've got one at stake still in each conference, Philly and Florida. It's down to those two in the East. St. Louis, Colorado. Does it get any better than a winner-take-all for a playoff spot? Winning, you're in. Losing, you go home. Blues and Avalanche, obviously the big game of the day. The most pertinent game of the day. So that's the one we'll be really focusing in on. I'm actually going to save that game till the end of the show. Usually we go in rotation order. When we get to that in the rotation, we're going to skip it and we're going to save it till the end because it's the big game, the Blues and the Avalanche. So we're looking forward to breaking it down. Dana and Alex with me side by side. Before we begin, before we get into the show, we do want to bring up just a horrible incident that happened last night. The Humboldt Broncos Saskatchewan junior hockey team, a bus crash with a semi truck, and last night kills 14 people in that crash. There was 28 people on that team on that bus. Half of them die in that horrific crash. Thoughts, prayers, condolences, all of that go out to family, friends, anyone in that area. I mean, it's just a horrendous thing, brutal to see. And you see these images now of the team, holding hands in their hospital beds. They're together as they're, trying to get in critical condition there. And it's almost like, and that's the worst part of it too. This team and all these teams, these junior hockey teams, they are not just friends. They're not just teammates. They become brothers. They become family together. And to see this is just awful way to start the weekend. Again, Humboldt, Saskatchewan, we're thinking about you. It's a horrific tragedy for that small little community, a very, very small place in the province of Saskatchewan. But definitely they're feeling the hearts of all Canadians, everyone that's involved with hockey right now, feeling just their gut wrenched for this community and for this hockey team. Colby Armstrong, who just does a great job on Sportsnet, has been doing NHL broadcast coverage for them the last couple of years since he's been retired. He is actually from Humboldt, Saskatchewan. He's opened up his house to any family and friends of the Humboldt hockey team to stay there, just as a place of refuge, so to speak, to try to deal with this tragedy in some way, shape, or form. Just a small thing for Colby Armstrong to say, hey, I'm here for you. Feel the pain and anything I can do to help, I'm willing to do that. So Colby Armstrong, class act, great guy, funny guy too. If you hear him on Sportsnet, he's a very entertaining, outgoing character. But definitely a kudos to him for doing that. Great class act. And Humboldt, Saskatchewan, we're thinking of you here on this day. All right, let's go on to unfortunately much less significant things when you compare it to that, but we do have a hockey card to break down. We're going to start at the top of the rotation, 51-52, 3:05 p.m. Eastern Time puck drop here. This is on NBC television, coast to coast game. Doc Edzo Pierre will be there on hand. Philadelphia minus 240, minus 245. Big home favorite here. Total 6. We know the situation. Philadelphia needs just 1 point. The Flyers just need a single point. Get this game into overtime. You're in the playoffs. That's all there is to it. So it's going to be interesting to see, to me, how they approach this game. Do you go wide open? Do you go all out and just try to bury the Rangers right away? Do you maybe play a little conservative? This is a Flyers team that, from a totals perspective, it's been a very difficult task to try to bet this team under lately. Talked about that. Another over for them the other night against Carolina. They've now cashed overs in 8 of their last 10 games, scoring goals. They've also given up some as well. How do they play it? Because we saw Pittsburgh in this same kind of spot last night where they were needing just a point to clinch something and sort of hung back a little bit, just try to do just enough to get that point in the game against Ottawa. Do the Philadelphia Flyers do that? That's my only reservation with maybe looking over the total one more time here with Philadelphia in this game. That and the fact the Rangers offense has gone cold. I mean, you're looking at a Rangers team that scored just 5 goals in their last 3 games against Carolina, Jersey, and the Islanders that's banged up, dealing with injuries. Jesper Fast is out. Matt Zuccarello was injured earlier this week. He did come back in the last game, but hasn't exactly helped this Rangers offense. And that's going to be the concern for me as well, looking over the total here. Talk about a team that only put up 1 goal against the horrendous New York Islanders defense the other night. That doesn't exactly proved to be a ringing endorsement of your ability to put the puck in the net at this point in time. Where does Dave Haxtell go with his starting goaltender is the most fascinating thing, because he's going to have to go with somebody should this team make the playoffs, and I expect them to. It's going to take nothing short of a miracle and the stars to align at this point for the Florida Panthers to get in. They need just a whole hell of a lot of things to happen for them to get in. I don't see it. I think Philly's going to somehow get in. I expect them to take care of business here. But where does Dave Haxtell go today with his goaltender? If it's Brian Elliott or is it Peter Mrazek? And I think that's going to tell us a lot about what he's thinking in terms of his playoff starting goaltender later this week. If it's Elliott today in net, probably going to go with Elliott in the playoffs. If it's Mrazek in net for this game against the Rangers, you're probably going to see Mrazek start the playoff run for the Flyers in net. So very interesting decision there for Dave Haxtell when it comes to where he's going with his goaltender today and possibly moving forward as well. So for me, this is a game that I was interested over the total early on. Now, not really so much. I mean, it's just Rangers have gone cold offensively. Sometimes when you're just needing a point, you're going to hang back a little bit, almost like don't blow the tie by going up and down and just, playing a wide open type of game. Get the point, get it in, even if it's ugly, if we have to do 1-1, 2-2, get it into overtime maybe, because Philadelphia clearly knows that's all they need to do, get a point in this game, and they're in the playoffs. So a lean to the over, but for the first time in a while with the Flyers, not overly excited about pulling the trigger over the total here in this game. Obviously, Philly, I expect them to win, but not going to lay minus 245. And again, puck line, they don't have to win this game by 2 goals or more. So for me, I'm going to stay away from this one to start the day, but I will be watching it for sure. See if the Flyers can punch their playoff ticket here in this game. We've got New York Islanders, Detroit. Next one, 53-54 on your rotation. Detroit minus 135 to minus 140. Home favorite here. Total 6.5 across the board. This is a game I have no problem betting over the total here. 6.5 here. Islanders, Detroit's one of my favorite situations. It's 2 teams not going anywhere. It's 2 teams that just going to roll the puck out, have some fun, score some goals. Detroit's been able to score some goals. They've also given them up, as we saw the other night against Montreal. Perfect example. This game follows that Montreal-Detroit game the other night. Flew over the total with ease, 4-3. I think you're going to get something similar here. I mean, just a lack of intensity when you get 2 teams out of the playoffs here. Islanders out, Detroit out. 2 teams that are subpar defensively. I hope we get Jared Coro in net one more time. He's awful. He is. I think he's got an 839 save percentage and a 4.4 goals against. I mean, Jared Coro's numbers for Detroit have been brutal. That being said, I do expect you'll probably see Jimmy Howard get the final start of the season here for the Detroit Red Wings. It's not like he's been all that much better, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, over the total here, 6.5. Why not? New York Islanders have really helped me from a bankroll perspective this season in the NHL with overs. Why not do it one more time for good old time's sake here? New York and Detroit over 6.5. One last time before the season wraps up. Let's go to Dana here, because this is on his card as well. Red Wings taking on the Islanders, playing for exercise, as I like to say, with 2 teams well out of the playoffs. Dana, what do you like?
Yeah, well, Ian, I mean, it's been well documented. We've done it for months now, talking about the Islanders and how bad that they are defensively, and really for them, if you take a guy like Calvin DeHaan out of the lineup, I mean, that was really the beginning of the end for them. I mean, he was arguably, I guess not arguably, their best defenseman, and the only guy that's even sniffing a plus in the plus minus category. It was a plus 11, and now probably your best defenseman after him is Nick Leddy, who's a minus 42 on this season. They're absolutely a mess on the blue line, which may be the reason why they're a mess in net. I don't know. I think it's probably a combination of each, because there's nothing about the goaltending system, or nothing in the New York Islanders goaltending system that gets me excited about the future, which obviously brings us to John Tavares and his decision. But from a goaltending standpoint, this is a team that ranks last in the National Hockey League in goaltending, which is why we always kind of gravitate towards the over. Even me, I've given up on this team and kind of gotten away from the unders, which you guys know I can't stand playing. But I expect Thomas Greiss to start tonight. But if you wager on the Islanders, you're going to get a guy who's got a 890 save percentage, goals against average. It's just a smidge under 4. So nothing about that excites me. And we know that the Wings beat New York on December 19th, 6-3. The Islanders returned the favor a short time after that. But even in that game and the Islanders win, Detroit really had that game in hand and let it slip away. They had a 3-goal lead in the third period. So, to me, this is really easy. I think Detroit wins this game in their final game at Little Caesars Arena.
All right, so he's going with the Detroit side, minus 135 here in this game at home against the New York Islanders. Home finale. Islanders, well, they're not good to begin with. They've actually been even worse on the road. So, yeah, I mean, if you're willing to lay that price, certainly Detroit makes some sense to me. It's, yeah, I'd lean that way too. I mean, Islanders on the road. What are you going to show up for a team that, a lot of times this season on the road, they've been abysmal. Maybe more of the same tonight. We'll see. Detroit to get a win in their home finale, says Dana Lane. We got New Jersey, Washington, 55-56 on the rotation. No line here on this hockey game currently. Very interesting one in terms of the fact that, New Jersey clinched their playoff spot the other night against Toronto with that win. Very good win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Played a very good, complete hockey game. Deserved the win, too. I thought they had the better of the play against Toronto for majority of that game. So good win for the Devils, officially punching their ticket to the postseason. Now they're playing Washington, but there is still a little issue of positioning at stake here for the New Jersey Devils, because they're in a spot where they're in the first wild card at 97, but Philadelphia can still leapfrog them if they win and New Jersey loses. Now it's the question of pick your poison. Does New Jersey really care about who their opponent is in the first round that much to be interested maybe in resting guys and maybe not winning tonight? That's the big question here, because you're going to be going from playing the first place team in the Atlantic to either playing the first place team in the Metro. That's basically what you're looking at here. The first wild card team is going to play the first place team in the Metro, and the second place wild card team is going to play the first place team in the Atlantic. So from that standpoint, to New Jersey, you're going into this game, you're saying, do I want to play a Tampa or Boston, or do I want to play Washington? I don't know if they think that way. I can't bank on handicapping this game thinking that they think that way. You just got to actually look at it and say, hey, do you want to solidify your spot as the first wild card? I think to an extent they do. Washington's actually had good efforts ever since last weekend when they clinched the Metropolitan Division with that win against Pittsburgh. They have a big win against St. Louis, who desperately needed the points. I thought in the game against Nashville, they battled really hard. They fell short, but Nashville was playing to clinch the Western Conference and the President's Trophy in that game. Washington's effort, I thought, was still very good in that game. So they have still competed, Washington, down the stretch, even though they've had everything wrapped up. They can't move up position-wise. So that's been good to see. I haven't mailed anything in yet. So side-wise, to me, very tough to call, because you got Washington, final home game. Teams still get up, I think, for the final home game. A lot of the home teams do this, the ceremony after the game where they take the jersey off the back sort of thing, and they sign it, give it to a kid kind of deal. That's usually what happens for a lot of these home games. So you do usually get teams wanting to win their home finale, even if they've locked up everything. So I'd lean Washington a little bit here. It's New Jersey, that first game right after clinching, and you haven't been in the playoffs as a franchise in 6 or 7 years. So I'd lean Washington, but it's not a game I'm crazy about. I'm really being selective, really picking my spots today, to be honest, on this card. That's the way you should be doing it. It's one of those landmine-filled kind of days, and you just want to be sure you're aware of situations, injuries, who's in, who's out, goaltending, who's going to be the starter when you handicap these games, especially today when you're down to the final game of the season. We got Buffalo, Florida, 57-58 on the rotation here currently. No line as of yet. I do see a total, which is weird, at 5 times the total in this game, but that's it. So a little weird development there. I see a total at 5 times, no side, but that's the way it is with that. Florida, we know by 7 p.m. when this game starts, Florida Panthers are going to clearly know what they have to do, if they have to do anything. They may not have to do anything. Their season might already be over by the time they hit the ice, depending on what happens with the Philadelphia Flyers earlier in the day. So really, to me, it's a hold off and wait situation. I don't know why anyone would bet this game now. No clue. None. Zero. Why you would want to rush to bet Buffalo or Florida right now. Wait until 5:36 till that NBC game ends with the Rangers and Flyers. The Flyers get the job done. I think that's an anti-Florida fade right then and there. Buffalo, hey, look at last night. No back-to-back situation for Buffalo on the road, but there's a team not mailing it in. They just asked the Tampa Bay Lightning how the Buffalo Sabres aren't mailing things in right now. They gave Tampa all kinds of fits last night before the Lightning finally pulled away and won 7-5. Needed a third period rally from 5-4 down to come back and win that game. So Buffalo still giving you a decent effort. I just wish they had someone better than Chad Johnson in net because he's been not very good the last few games. I have to see who they go with here in between the pipes. I know Leonard's had some injury problems. He's not really been all that good. They've wanted to get Linus Ullmark some more starts, who I actually do think has a little bit of a potential, at least for the Sabres, in goal for the future, but he's been injured now for the last little bit too. So it's just been a mess for the Sabres in terms of their goaltending situation. So to me, this is one of those games where I'll be kind of interested in Buffalo. Uh, Either way, really. Even if the Flyers lose somehow today and Florida needs this game. Again, must win doesn't equal will win, but I'll probably like Buffalo even more if the Flyers do indeed punch their playoff ticket. Just that quick turnaround. From what I've heard, the Panthers are going to get together to watch this Flyer game this afternoon before it starts. They all do. They may say, "Oh, we don't, we don't." They do. Watch the Claude Giroux interview after they beat Carolina the other night in overtime. He says, "We knew what the score was of Florida. Who's kidding who?" I love how he was honest, came right out and said it. We knew what the Florida score was all along. So they'll be watching that game, Florida, that Flyer game. So you just feel there could be some heartbreak, some just the emotions and the distress of not making it if the Flyers get the job done today could infiltrate into their performance tonight when they take on the Sabres. So a Buffalo play for me, likely in either case, but a stronger one for sure if Florida's knocked out of the postseason before this game begins today. All right, let's see. What do we got next? We've got Montreal, Toronto, 59-60 on the rotation. No line here. This is, again, a game where Toronto can't move up anywhere. Montreal is Montreal. They stink. They're horrible. We know that. It's just basically what are you going to get from Toronto? I think Toronto wants to play well. It's home finale. They lost to New Jersey, and they sort of resigned themselves to the fact like it's going to be hard for us to match the intensity of the Devils. They were trying to clinch that playoff spot. Certainly, they played that way. Toronto didn't play terrible, but intensity-wise, they just didn't ratchet it up to another level the way the Devils did in that game. I think they're going to want to put their foot down, win this game. The question is, are they going to want to blow out Montreal? That's the question. They certainly, I think, want to go into the playoffs, get this win, get Freddie Anderson in the right frame of mind. He's going to start this finale. Toronto, to me, has taken this game seriously, even though they have nothing at stake. I mean, they can't move up; they're locked into their spot. They're just waiting to see if they get Boston or Tampa Bay in that first round series. But I do think Toronto will take this game seriously. Home finale. It is still a rival. A rival maybe kick while they're down. And Toronto's the only way I'd go here in this game. The only way I would take it. Maybe Toronto team total over, a puck line play, because you know they're going to be over minus 200 for sure in this game. Probably be looking Toronto puck line would be the lean. We'll have to see where this line comes out when it does before getting involved. But definitely a situation where, at least in my mind, got some interest looking at the Toronto side on the puck line, depending on how decent that price ends up turning out to be. Andrew McGinnis, by the way, this is the first game he's got a play on the card. He's going to go over the total in the first period of this Montreal-Toronto game. So not the full game, the first period. It's Toronto. It kind of makes sense because I think Toronto wants to come out fast, start strong. And this could be one of those 3-1, 4-1 games like in the third period. And then Toronto just takes their foot off the gas and coasts. And I don't know if Montreal is an offense I trust night in, night out to rally from behind. So first period over probably is a little bit of a safer option if you like the over in this game than perhaps the full game. So that's the way that's what Andrew's thinking, and that's the way he's going. He's taking Montreal Toronto first period over, which will probably be 1.5. They usually are. Over 1.5, about minus 120. I would think you'll get a little juice with that play. So over 1.5 in the first period for Andrew in that game between Montreal and Toronto. Next up, we got Ottawa, Boston, 61-62 on the rotation. No line here. We've got Ottawa shut out last night by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Poor Ottawa. They finished the season back-to-back road games against teams that still have a little something to play for. Good teams that have a little something to play for. Pittsburgh last night clinching second in the Metro, home ice advantage in the first round. That's why that game was important to them, and they dominated Ottawa, really shut them out 4-0. Casey DeSmith, Don't look now, but I know Pittsburgh's not playing today. Their regular season's over, but the Matt Murray's not been the better of the two goaltenders lately for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's been Casey DeSmith, believe it or not. 37 save shutout last night for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and you got to wonder if Murray's going to obviously be the guy in the playoffs. But is there going to be a quick hook involved with Mike Sullivan here? If he struggles, because he's really struggled since coming back from that concussion a little bit, you go to Casey DeSmith a time or two in the playoffs. We'll have to wait and see on that. But he's been good. DeSmith got the shutout over this Ottawa team. They got Ottawa now, where Erik Karlsson's already been shut down for the season, not on this road trip. Obviously, dealing with the personal tragedy he had earlier a few weeks ago, so they're not having him play these final few games. It's a banged up team. Bobby Ryan's playing, but he's not 100%. He's playing through some lower body injury. That's affected him. You're on the road now against a Boston team still fighting for the first place spot in the Atlantic Division with Tampa. Now, they're 2 points behind Tampa, but Boston can still get the job done. They have 2 games left, 1 game in hand. Tampa just has the 1 game tonight against Carolina. Boston can absolutely win this game, obviously, against Ottawa here at home. And then tomorrow against Florida, the makeup game was postponed earlier in the season due to snow. Florida may not have a damn thing to play for tomorrow night when it's all said and done. They could already be out. And Boston has a chance, even on a back-to-back, no travel. That's 2 home games, so the back-to-back doesn't scare me. Boston absolutely still very much live to win the Atlantic Division if they can win out in these last 2 home games. Ottawa today, Florida tomorrow. Very possible. So I expect Boston still come out big effort, especially considering, they've lost 2 in a row. They lost to Tampa, lost to Florida on this recent 2-game Florida road swing. They haven't lost more than 2 in a row very often. It's hard to remember the last time I've seen a 3-game losing streak for the Boston Bruins. So I think you get a big time effort from them here tonight. They still want the division. Why would you not? Boston, yeah. Basically, I know they're going to be priced expensively, but this is not a live dog I'll be looking to bet. Let's put it that way here with the Ottawa Senators tonight as they play out the string. Alex B. Smith, Ottawa, Boston. This is the first of 5 games that Alex will be talking about on this Saturday card. He's loaded up. He's ready to go. Go for it, Alex. Ottawa, Boston. Here we go.
Jeez.
Well, I mean,
time hog.
the one big note I had with this game was looking at the goaltender for Ottawa tonight is Danny Taylor, which is a name that I was kind of like, I know I've heard that name before. He's a guy who played in the NHL a few years ago back with Calgary, had a couple of games, and he's been in Russia for a few years before coming back with the Ottawa organization. Hasn't had any really good numbers in the AHL, but kind of reminds me of how when Jeff Glass came up with the Hawks. Older guys finally get another shot at the NHL, getting the game. So it'll be interesting to see if this Ottawa team kind of maybe rallies around him a bit to end the year. I don't really know. Like I said, his numbers aren't that great. He's got a 3 goals against average at a 90 save percentage in the AHL, record below 500. But it'll be interesting to see if that fires him up. Obviously, getting a shot at the NHL, going up against a good team. Maybe the Bruins kind of struggle a little bit early. So I could see maybe where like first period under could possibly be a play. Obviously, the Bruins, like I said, this game means something to them. They're not going to try and make a whole lot of mistakes. They're going to play a little tighter than maybe Ottawa would. But if Danny Taylor shows up for the at least the first 20 minutes, we could see a tight game going into the second period.
Yeah, it's been a weird little thing around the NHL lately with, Danny Taylor. You talked about it with Jeff Glass in Chicago, Mike McKenna last night with the Dallas Stars. I mean, what is this? The Journeyman All-Stars tour? I mean, holy goodness. I mean, what are we doing here? We're just throwing in these random old guys that had a chance to make the NHL 4 or 5 years ago, couldn't. Now they're back all of a sudden and fell off a turnip truck, and now they're starting an NHL game here. Mike McKenna last night, now Danny Taylor today. Weird stuff going on. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, interesting note on Danny Taylor. You're right. He's been a journeyman goaltender, and that's apparently the cool thing to do right now. If you're a team out of the playoffs, not going anywhere, let's give an old journeyman goaltender his just rewards and give him an NHL start. Now Ottawa's following that suit. Didn't work well, unfortunately, for Dallas and for Mike McKenna last night as they got bombed by the Anaheim Ducks in that game. Well, not bombed, but he's certainly wasn't scintillating in net, Mike McKenna. Let's put it that way. Last night in that game against Anaheim, we've got Chicago, Winnipeg. Next game on the rotation here, Chicago, Winnipeg, 63-64. We've got no line here. It's a home finale for the Winnipeg Jets. Again, it's a situation where Chicago's out. They had their home finale last night. I thought the effort still was decent for Chicago. They wanted to try to stick it to the Blues one more time. Fell short this time around, though. It was a very good, clean, crisp, solid defensive effort defensive game from the St. Louis Blues. They just didn't give Chicago a ton last night in that game. And Carter Hutton, I think, has played solid in net for the Blues, and probably now is starting to bump Jake. It's like these two guys take turns all season long for the Blues. Allen and Hutton going through these little spells of hot streaks and bumping the other guy out. Then he gets cold, and the other guy comes in. The other guy gets hot, then he'll hit the wall and go on a cold streak, and the other guy will come in. So it's been St. Louis all season long, but Chicago put a lot into that. Not sure what they're going to put into this game. I mean, we've seen Chicago have some mail-in efforts. I remember after the Brent Seabrook game, they were jacked up, fired up for that 1,000th game, and they just completely shit the bed, laid an egg, no-show the next night against Colorado. And I'm worried that could happen here tonight against Winnipeg. And I think Winnipeg, they've sort of been just going through the motions the last few games. Again, the Montreal game, they didn't play great. Ottawa game, they didn't play great. The Calgary game, even last game out 2-1, didn't play spectacular by any stretch. I still think Paul Maurice is going to want to see a good effort from his team, have a nice finishing effort to close the regular season before heading into the playoffs against the Minnesota Wild. And that is the one series we can confirm for you right now that is a lock that's going to happen in the first round. Minnesota Wild taking on the Winnipeg Jets. If you ask me honestly, and I'm not being facetious or trying to poke fun or laugh at Wild fans here, I give you guys about a 10% chance of winning that series. Unfortunately, I think the Suter injury is a big time deal. I don't trust your offense enough. It goes in and out of spurts. I don't trust your goaltending enough in the postseason. Dubnyk's been a great regular season goalie, not a good playoff goalie. And third of all, I don't trust your coach, Bruce Boudreau. I mean, show me a playoff run, Bruce. Come on, let's win some series now. Come on, you've had enough years now as a head coach in the NHL. Let's see some playoff wins. Let's see some series wins, please. Anyway, Chicago, Winnipeg. That's it for me in terms of analysis, because I'm not going to be staying far away from this game. Won't be involved either way. Alex B. Smith might be, though. It's his Hawks. He might have an opinion. He might even have a bet on it. Blackhawks, Jets. Alex, what do you see happening here?
A bit of a lean here with the over. Like I said, I don't know how much of an effort the Hawks are going to give tonight after wrapping up the home game. And yesterday at the end of that game, they had a kind of a big skate around and a big send off for Patrick Sharp, which for sure will be his last game at the United Center, but probably his last game in the NHL. Had a wonderful career, so a guy that got a well-deserved standing ovation for a good minute at the end of that game. So I don't know if the Hawks are going to really come out, even though this is a division rival, a team that despite they've won 11 of the last 14 against them, but Winnipeg has really given them fits. They've always played them really tough, really physical. But we've seen a few of these games become pretty high scoring. So I would look at the over here. Jeff Glass is starting in net for the Hawks tonight. So it could possibly be his last game in the NHL. Who knows if he's not around with the Hawks next year. So and of course, Joel Quenneville and GM Stan Bowman both. The jobs are at least safe for now. So I think that now kind of has players kind of looking at, okay, this final game is going to really determine, who's going to be staying, who's going to be going. So it's kind of an audition kind of time for the Hawks now. So we should see some good offense from both teams. I like the over here.
Yeah, actually, that's probably the if I had to recommend some kind of bet on this game, it would probably be the over. I agree with that, because I remember last time Chicago Winnipeg high scoring game, and they've played a couple for sure. Chicago might just be in a just go out there and have some fun kind of attitude for them. Defense, I don't think there's going to be much intensity there on that end, especially after they dug in. They actually did dig in defensively well these last two games against St. Louis. That really mattered to Chicago, clearly trying to hurt the Blues and their playoff chances a bit. You don't let a team like St. Louis, a bitter division rival, for as bad a season as Chicago has had, you don't let a division rival like St. Louis, you don't like them. You've had playoff wars with them multiple times in the past. You don't let them try to punch their playoff ticket on your watch. You just don't try to do that. And Chicago was a game effort in both games. They split the two games against St. Louis head-to-head. You could tell Chicago wanted them. They were interested in beating the St. Louis Blues these last two games. Not sure they'll be interested here, but more importantly, I don't think they'll be interested in playing great, stellar, tight defensive hockey tonight. And that's going to be the key for this game going up and over the total. And if you're not playing stellar defensive hockey or very interested at that end of the ice against a team like Winnipeg, you might pay the price. Tampa Bay, Carolina, 65-66 on the rotation here. No line. We know Tampa Bay. I think it behooves them to really win this game, because, they can't lose and risk, putting the control back in Boston's court. You've got to put Boston in a situation where, they absolutely are going to have to win out at this point in time. And so if you're Tampa Bay, go in there and say we can get this job done, or really put a ton of pressure here on the Boston Bruins if we can win this game here tonight. So that's going to be the interesting thing to watch for here in this game. And Tampa Bay, to me, I don't know what it is. I mean, again with Vasilevsky last night, we talked about it. He's had a really poor month. I mean, it's to the point where I'm starting to wonder if it's going to cost him his Vezina Trophy this year. Like this is not just a little 1 or 2 game blip. It's not just a 1 week blip. This is a 1 month blip where he has clearly not been as sharp as he was in October, November, December, early in the season. We've talked about the workload ad nauseum. He's never played this many games in a regular season before. I think that is a big part of it. No question about that. And it's going to be a scenario here where I've got some big time concerns now with Tampa Bay goaltending defensively. I mean, you see them just, how do you give on the first Buffalo goal last night, I believe Middlestad's goal, how do you let him on a power play walk right in and have all the time in the world to look, pick his spot and fire it past Vasilevsky like that? Horrendous. I mean, you got to have better time and space and cut it down better than that. If you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, they didn't do it. Just one of many instances last night where Tampa Bay's play in their own zone left a lot to be desired. Ryan McDonagh was supposed to help that, but like I said, people thinking that would improve. This has not been the same Ryan McDonagh as he was 2-3 years ago. I think he's declined a little bit defensively, and I don't know if he's been that big help to the Tampa Bay Lightning that everybody thought he would be. I don't think he's quite that same guy as he was a couple seasons ago when the Rangers were going to a Cup final. He's just not, and he's not exactly been that big time help people thought he would be to this Tampa Bay Lightning blue line. So there's some concerns right now for me. Carolina, I'll say this about Carolina. They've had no goaltending this year. Darling's been horrible. He was bad again against Philadelphia the other night. Ward's not been much better, but their effort's good. I mean, defensively, they're actually pretty decent. It's just the goaltending's let them down time and time again. They're not bad with shots against, quality chances against. Problem is the shots are going in because the goaltending's just been Swiss cheese far too much for this Carolina team, and that's been their issue. Over the total is interesting me here because Tampa Bay's defensive game's just not where it needs to be right now. Who knows where they're going in goal? There's rumblings that they actually still might give Louis Domingue a start here tonight, even though it's back-to-back. Even though they need the points, you would think Vasilevsky, you got to maybe play him back-to-back, but they still might go with Louis Domingue. His numbers don't write or nothing to write home about. You know, he's been a little bit better lately, but still, he's not a guy I trust. 3.4 goals against, 8.92 save percentage. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. We know Carolina can give up goals. So, yeah, over the total's the first thing that stands out to me here in this hockey game. And again, don't just bet Tampa here because they need the points to try to solidify their chances at winning the first in the Atlantic. It doesn't work that way. Must win does not always equal will win. This is kind of like Chicago St. Louis here. This is a division battle. Carolina's not going anywhere. They've had a tough season. But if there's one game they're going to show up, it's a home finale. It's a team that's trying to clinch the division on their watch. You know, I think the effort will be there tonight for Carolina to try to play spoiler here against the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. So interesting game to watch for sure. Alex B. Smith, this is one of his games as well. Lightning taking on the Hurricanes. Alex, what do you like here?
Yeah, I'm looking at the over too. I'm kind of kicking my own ass for not playing the over last night. Buffalo had actually been kind of scoring a little bit more as of late, and they said, Tampa Bay. I mean, obviously, they've put up 7 goals now in a pair of games in the last 4. So obviously, the offense is going to always be there with the Lightning, and except Carolina, a team that might want to just like you've been saying all day today, roll the puck out and have some fun here. So if Tampa Bay can't clamp down defensively, especially if Louis Domingue's going to be in net, who, even though we've seen some slight flashes of brilliance from him, I could see where this game should easily go over the total. So that's something I'll be looking at.
Yeah, Tampa Bay, I'm just looking at it right now. All they need is a win. Doesn't matter if it's regulation or an overtime. All Tampa Bay needs is a win in any form tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes, and they will be first place and Atlantic Division champions. And that would set up Tampa Bay against the second wild card team in the first round, and that would also set up Boston against Toronto in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that's basically what you're looking at. All the Lightning need to do is win, and you clinch the Atlantic Division tonight in Carolina, in Kakalaki at the PNC Arena against the Hurricanes. We'll see if they can get the job done. Columbus, Nashville, 67-68 on the rotation here. We've got no line on this one. Again, that's sort of like a put the tape in the recorder and rewind it over and over. That's what it sounds like, me saying no line, no line, no line. But that's the way we are right now. It's the last day of the season, a lot up in the air, and odds makers trying to not have their pants pulled down on them. And that's why we're seeing a lot of games with no line right now. Columbus, Nashville. Columbus, to me, is a team that I think, and I was good. I'm going to save it till the Tuesday preview show. I will. I'm not going to say any more than that. But I think let's just briefly say that if there's a cup future that you're not late to the party and betting yet, yeah, again, all the prices of the teams I liked earlier in the season are bad now. Tampa, Toronto, Boston, there's no value there anymore. The one that's got value right now, in my opinion, is this Columbus team. I honestly believe that. Good price right now, 28-1 last I checked to win the Stanley Cup. If you're going to bet one future right now, that's the one, because I think that's a one with good value and a team that I honestly think could win a series or two the way they've played lately, this Jackets team. Taking on Nashville here in this game. Nashville, clinching the President's Trophy the other night. So, everything has been, there's absolutely nothing out there to go out and get if you're the Nashville Predators tonight in this game. I know it's your home finale, but, we've started to see Nashville lose some home games lately because of being disinterested. Buffalo went in there, for crying out loud, last weekend and beat Nashville, or 2 weekends ago. So that tells you all you need to know. Nashville's sort of gone through the motions. They've stepped up when they had to. They played a good game against Washington the other night, won that game on the road, knew they could clinch the President's Trophy in the West, first place in the West with that win. Not sure what we get from them tonight. Lean Columbus here, but again, we'll see where the price is. We'll see what Columbus's mindset is. Columbus now is also locked in to where they are. They were battling with Pittsburgh for second in the Metro. They are now third in the Metro, although actually, believe it or not, Columbus could slip into a wild card position because they're at 97. New Jersey's at 97. Philly's at 96. So they could actually fall down into a wild card spot if they're not careful. And it'll be overtaken by one of Devils or Flyers, if not both of them. So that's the thing that Columbus has to maybe keep an eye on. Do we care about that? Does that matter enough to us that we're going to go out there try to win this thing? That's the question. I still think they will. I think you'll get more of an effort, let's put it that way, from Columbus tonight. More at stake, at least a little bit, for Columbus than Nashville. I'm not sure what Nashville's going to bring here at all tonight. So I'll lean Columbus, but again, we'll have to see where this price comes out. Dana, this is on his card. Columbus, Nashville. What do you like here?
I understand what you're saying, Ian, but I got to tell you, there may mean nothing to play for from a Nashville standpoint. But like you mentioned, they have not been playing as well as we've grown accustomed to seeing them play, and I think that they don't really want to go into the postseason on a losing note. I mean, I think from a standpoint of the Predators, I'd rather go into the postseason knowing that I just got through taking care of the Washington Capitals, I just got through taking care of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and you're going into the postseason on a good note. And yeah, Buffalo went into Bridgestone Arena and won, but I'm still feeling a lot better taking a team that has won over 71% of their games in their last 62 home games. I mean, that's a trend that I just don't want to go against. I think this home ice at Bridgestone will be absolutely jacked tonight. Sure, the Columbus Blue Jackets have played exceptional hockey over the last 10 games, but I just think that Nashville is going to tighten down defensively. And when you talk about which team is better on the blue line, I mean, certainly there is no comparison, although Columbus is very good, and Nashville is just in an elite category. Pekka Rinne is scheduled to start tonight, and if you're going to go with the better of the two goaltenders, although that is also close, I certainly have to side with Pekka Rinne, who was 41-13 on the season, and even better at home, going 24-6. So I like the Predators tonight. I'd shop around for this number when it comes out, but I expect it to be around the $1.35, $1.30 range. But I like Nashville tonight.
All right, Nashville for Dana Lane says, hey, they've clinched everything, but it's a home finale. It's a fan base. That is the one thing you got to remember. This is a fan base that this team adores, and this is now become a city that loves this team, and it is the home finale. So you would think in a building where they've had a great success again this season, that alone is going to be enough to get Nashville interested in this hockey game. It very well could. This is one of those games that it's like one of those flip a coin, make a case for either side, because really you can, to be honest with you. That's the case in a lot of these games today. It's just handicapping, mindset, mentality. This is always the most fascinating Saturday of the entire season to handicap, because you got to put on your Dr. Fraser Crane hat basically here, like that old show with Frasier in Seattle. You know, you got to find out what they're thinking psychologically and all that, and like analyze them. So that's what you're doing basically here with so many of these teams. And Columbus, Nashville, perfect example of that here with this particular hockey game tonight. Next up, we've got Anaheim, Arizona. Did I miss any of Andrew's bets? No, his last two are these games coming up. Okay, Anaheim, Arizona, 69-70 on the rotation. We've got no line here. Ducks, obviously, a situation where they won last night, back to back for them, taking on the Dallas Stars. They took care of business, won that game. They are at 99 points, 1 point behind San Jose for second in the Pacific. So they can technically still clinch second place in the Pacific if they can win in regulation. And then San Jose loses their final game tonight, which is it's a possibility. Now I'm trying to see regulation and overtime wins; they'd be tied there. San Jose would have the advantage in wins over Anaheim, so I think San Jose would still get the tiebreaker if I'm not mistaken there against Anaheim. So it's a situation where Anaheim's got to win in regulation. No question about that. If they're going to or win it all, and hope San Jose doesn't get a point tonight in their game, that's what's going to allow Anaheim to leapfrog San Jose for second in the Pacific. So does it matter? Well, it means home ice advantage in that series in the Pacific Division. So you would think they bring a good effort. That being said, this back-to-back, it's Arizona's home finale. Arizona, we've talked about it over and over again. Their effort's been fantastic. I know they got come back on by the Vancouver Canucks on a magical night for Daniel and Henrik Sedin. Comeback victory for Vancouver to beat Arizona in overtime. Daniel Sedin with a couple of goals. I mean, if talk about magical ending there. Arizona, unfortunately, on the losing end of that, but still, this team has been feisty, competitive. They've been terrific. Like Antti Raanta in particular has been great. I expect him to get the season finale start here. I know this game still technically means they could get into second with a win, Anaheim here, Pacific. I'll be interested in the Arizona side still. I mean, this is especially if Raanta's a go tonight in net for this Arizona team. Anaheim's not always been able to win it too as well in Arizona. They've had a couple little blips playing in the desert in years past. So I think Arizona's a sneaky little underdog. I would be very interested in tonight in this game. Again, must win doesn't equal will win, and it's a tough little spot here, back to back. Arizona home finale with a red hot Raanta, probably a net, you would think, because Kemper got the start against Vancouver. Ranta's back in. Ranta's only 10-1 in his last 11 starts. So that's basically what you're betting against here if you're going to take Arizona or if you're going to take Anaheim. If Ranta's in net, he's been that good. I'm going to look to Arizona. I really am. It's just a question of what we get in terms of a price here in this hockey game. When the line comes out, and that's also Andrew's side on this game. Arizona, I can't argue with it. I like Arizona. Arizona's been great. Effort's been there. Don't trust Anaheim on the road on a back-to-back spot. Still a team that's dealing with a couple of big-time physical games earlier this week. Dallas and big showdown with Colorado. Big game against Minnesota. They played a lot of big games this week. Anaheim. I'm not convinced they pull through here tonight. I think Arizona can beat them and keep Anaheim from getting that second spot in the Pacific. We've got St. Louis, Colorado's next on the rotation. We're going to skip that. We're going to come back to it at the end. That's the big game. That deserves the main event spot. We're going to go to Vancouver, Edmonton next, 73-74. Edmonton minus 190, the total 6 here in this game. Obviously a home run spot for Vancouver the other night. Everybody liked it. Why not? I mean, it's the Henrik and Daniel Sedin's final home game. They won it. Emotional. They do the skate around the ice surface at Rogers Arena after the game, the post-game interview that they played in the arena after that, saying their goodbyes. And I know this is their final game, but I put a lot more emphasis in these retirement things in the final home game than I do the final game, especially when it's the road game comes after the home game to end the season. I'm not convinced you get that same kind of emotion tonight out of Vancouver. So I know the price is staring you out there, and I know people are going to say, whoa, Sedin's their final home game on the road against Edmonton, who's not going anywhere, take plus 170. I'm just saying I'm being a little bit cautious with that tonight because I think they put all the eggs in the basket of that final home game. I'm not sure that same emotion, intensity is going to be there. And that's an emotional, exhausting night for everybody involved, that Vancouver team. That was an emotional night in the building with the players, with the team. The way they had won that game in overtime, came from behind to win that game. I'm just worried this is 5-0 Edmonton. I just got that feeling in the pit of my something like that. It's just Vancouver's just they put everything into that home game for the final game for Daniel and Henrik Sedin that they got nothing left in their tank today. Again, I think teams in this situation they put a lot more onus in these guys playing their final home game than just their final overall game, especially when it's on the road. So just buyer beware. I'm not going to obviously lay it with Edmonton in this price range. I'd still lean slightly to Vancouver, but I'm just concerned that they put everything into that game the other night. May not do the same here tonight, and you just may see them just hit a wall and just get smacked. To be honest with you, I'm really worried that pit of my stomach because I've seen this play out before. You just might not get that repeat dig down effort from Vancouver after the emotional and enthralling night they had the other night against Arizona in the final home game of the terrific 17-year careers of Daniel and Henrik Sedin. What do you think, Alex? Vancouver, Edmonton, this is on your card. This is a tricky handicap. I know it's the final home game overall of the careers for the Sedins, but I personally believe Vancouver put a lot more stock into the final home game than this one. And based on the emotion of that game, I'm just worried they have nothing in their tank tonight. What do you say?
Yeah, like I said, at first the price caught me, and I'm like, okay, plus 170. We're talking about a team that has won 4 of their last 6 games overall. So, that caught me at initial, the kind of initial open. But like you said, the height of how that last game went, them winning in overtime, the Sedins, getting the game-winning goal. There's, like I said, so much emotion. There's a letdown spot of sorts here, but and also too, you look at Edmonton against the division at home. They're 10-1-2 this year. So that's something that the one lone bright spot that they really kind of had, and what has been a disappointing year for the Oilers. So I was looking at Edmonton or at Vancouver, but now I'm actually kind of looking at the over here. I think we could see some goals scored both ways. I said no way on earth am I going to lay uh, any price with Edmonton, and certainly not going to even trust them on the puck line. So I would look at the over here. I think we could see at least maybe 2 or 3 goals, 2 or 3 goals early, and see this be kind of a 4-3, 5-3 kind of game.
All right, over the total is the way Alex would go here in this game, Vancouver, Edmonton. I'm going to stay away from this one. The side or it's tough. I mean, it really is, but that's weird. That's an incredible stat that Edmonton's 10-1-2 in home divisional games this season. Considering how bad it's been, you would think they don't have a 10-1-2 in any situation this season with the kind of year they've had. But there you go. That's their home divisional record, and that's the angle in play, if you like, that Edmonton side tonight in that game. We've got Vegas, Calgary, 75-76 on the rotation here. No line as of yet. I'm definitely interested in Vegas here. Again, we've been anti-Calgary all along. It's just a question of, are we going to get a price cheap enough to get involved here with the Golden Knights? Because I think Gerard Gallant's one coach that I can trust to say, I want my team to play one good game before the playoff starts, one more good game. I think he's had that kind of mindset all year. This team, for the most part, has had that mindset. I don't think they loved the way they played against Edmonton the other night. I think you got them wanting to come back here, have a good finish to this regular season against a team you're capable of having a very good finish against. Let's be honest, the Calgary Flames. I mean, that's they're injury riddled, they're banged up. I've talked about it multiple times. Physically shot, mentally shot, emotionally shot. It's a team that really hasn't given you all that much offensively at all. It's a dormant offensive hockey team these last couple of weeks since they've been eliminated from the playoffs. This Flames team, I know it's their home finale, but this is one of the teams with one of the worst home records in the NHL. 16-24 at home this season. 8 games below 500 at home. At home. We talk about all these teams that have great home records, and here's Calgary, 8 below 500 at home this season. That tells you how bad they've been here at the Saddle Dome. I don't know if I don't think I see this as a win one for the Gipper spot for Calgary. Win one for Glenn Gulletson, who's probably on his way out. Win one for the fan base and their home finale. It's not that kind of season for Calgary. It's been dismal. I think Vegas brings you a little something tonight after the Edmonton loss the other night, wanting to go into the playoffs, good frame of mind, maybe get everybody back together. I know Gerard Gallant's rested Perron and Marchessault and some guys in a couple of games earlier this week. I think he's going to try to go full bore and get this one, get a little rhythm and momentum back going into the playoffs. So absolutely, I'm interested in Vegas on the money line here. We'll see what kind of price we get with this game. But yeah, one more anti-Calgary bet. Why not? Been doing it a lot lately, I know Alex has been doing it a lot lately. A bunch of us have been doing that lately. Certainly the way I'm going to go in this game. And Andrew McGinnis agrees with me. He likes Vegas. We'll see where this line comes out when it's all said and done. But yeah, I mean, we've been betting against Calgary hand over fist. Why not try it one more time? It's our last chance to do it. Dallas, LA, 77-78 on the rotation here. No line in this game as well. We've got Dallas, losing it to Anaheim, giving Mike McKenna a bizarre start out of nowhere in that game against Anaheim last night. LA Kings, they're in a spot where they've now clinched a wild card spot, 98 points. They can actually move up past Anaheim for third in the Pacific. I'm trying to see, can they catch? They actually could. If they win tonight, San Jose loses their game, which is coming up. We'll talk about that. Minnesota, San Jose. LA could still actually be live for second in the division, for crying out loud. I mean, that's still it's an outside possibility, but it still could happen because they'd be tied. They need San Jose to lose in regulation. LA would jump up to 100. LA would have more regulation and overtime wins. They'd have 44 compared to San Jose's 40. So there you go. There's your tiebreaker. LA gets the tiebreaker over San Jose. So LA could go to second. They can go from first wild card to second in the Pacific somehow if they win and San Jose loses in regulation. So that's still a possibility for LA. But I'm not saying this is a reason to bet LA, but it's a reason for me to not want Dallas, among many reasons right now to not want Dallas. So that's the way I'm thinking in this game. Not a game I'll be involved, but to be quite honest with you, LA's going to be priced very, very expensively. We know that. Dallas is not showing you much of a pulse right now, other than San Jose. They've snuck up on the Sharks that one night, but that's about it. Other than that, it's been a dreadful run for the Dallas Stars. And yeah, I don't trust them here. Second night of back-to-backs against LA, which, at least from what I'm seeing, they're going to have something to play for here, and they're going to want to come out and get 2 points because second in Pacific, which gives you home ice as well in that first round series, that's something that you want to try to get. So I expect LA to try to get these 2 points, have a decent effort tonight. So again, I expect LA to win, but they'll be priced very, very richly. Probably won't have the value there to get involved. We got Minnesota, San Jose, 79-80, and then we'll get back to the game of the night to wrap it up. No line here. San Jose in a spot where, at least get a point, I think is what you're looking at here for the San Jose Sharks. Get that point at least. Put yourself in a situation where you've got a decent opportunity here to hold on to that second spot in the Pacific Division. Obviously, losing in regulation, getting no points would be a disaster. Considering you've got Anaheim and LA that are right behind you, knocking on the door, trying to take you out a second in the Pacific. So if you're San Jose, you want to win this one, obviously, which would clinch second in the Pacific. A win would do that, obviously. 1 point puts them in a pretty good spot, but still there's an opening for Anaheim. It would take LA out of the equation, but Anaheim would still have a possibility of moving up to second in the Pacific. So if you're San Jose, don't worry about 0 point, 1 point. Win the game. Win the game. You don't have to worry about Anaheim, LA, or anybody. Win the game. You're going to clinch second in the Pacific and home ice in the first round. I honestly think San Jose will win this game. I've not been enamored with the way they've kind of gone through the motions lately, this San Jose Shark team. But I do expect them to win this hockey game. I'm not seeing much out of Minnesota right now. They've locked into the series against Winnipeg in the first round. Again, Ryan Suter injury, a big deal. They're kind of going through the motions right now. I don't know if Bruce Boudreau's team on the end of this little long road trip here is a team I trust to go in there and knock off the Sharks. So not a game I'll be involved with because, again, just like the last game, San Jose is going to be priced very richly. You're going to have to pay a tax to back San Jose in this game. It's not a tax I'm willing to pay. Alex B. Smith, this is on his card, Mini and San Jose. Anything. I mean, it's probably going to be a tricky game sidewise to bet, but anything, side or total, that you're interested in here.
Yeah, the only thing I would kind of look at here would be the over. I mean, it's been interesting the kind of high scoring games that Minnesota's gotten into on this California trip. Obviously, the loss of Suter, is looming large. And like you mentioned earlier about them, as far as playoffs go, I don't really see them doing much in the first round against Winnipeg without Suter, and just their history in the playoffs as well. But in this game, like I said, San Jose's got some things that they could act. I said it before in a couple episodes. San Jose's got things they want to work on to kind of sharpen up things and going into the playoffs. And this is a good team for them to do it against a playoffs contending team. And I think San Jose will have a decent effort here in their home finale. So I kind of lean with maybe the Sharks and over. I more than likely won't be playing either of it, but that's the two things that kind of stuck out with me in this game.
All right, so lean Sharks and over for Alex in this game, and yeah, a lot of Vegas chatter in the chat right now. That's a good reminder because I should be mentioning this. I know SBR would love it if people that are on air mention this. Yes, the IFBC, the second annual, was in Costa Rica last year. It's going to be in Las Vegas this year, the last weekend of August. We're looking forward to that. I was there at the one in Costa Rica last year. It was a great event. I absolutely am planning to be at the one in Vegas in August. Looking forward to that. And it's being hosted by the Golden Nugget. Great book. The sports book run by Tony Miller there, Aaron Kessler and company there. Golden Nugget. Great book there. Great guy, Tony. Big Dallas Cowboys fan. Sometimes it clouds his judgment a little bit. But hey, Dallas Cowboys fans have had their judgment clouded for years and disappointed for years. So it's par for the course. But hey, he sticks by
That's
his
a great
team.
shot, Ian. Keep on watching the CFL, buddy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. I actually totally forgot you're a Cowboy fan, Dana. I
Yeah,
honestly did.
Don't worry, go Argos.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah,
Whatever
go
the hell an
Argos. Yeah, I'm a
Argo is.
Cat fan, so yeah, there you go. At least I'm a Cat fan. I wish death on the no, I don't wish death on the Argos. I just wish them to lose. Yeah.
Wow, that is some
Yeah.
Canadian hate.
Oh, yeah, we don't like the Argos very much. Yeah, that's a big time rivalry in the CFL. But yeah, IFBC late August. That's going to be fun. I'll be out there. It'll be everybody's going out there. Morency's going to be out there. I'm sure Teddy's going to show up there. Any public function Teddy covers is going to be there in Vegas. Count on it. He loves those little meet and greet things. He goes to them all the time. So that'll be a fun event. IFBC in Las Vegas. And hey, I'm going to make sure I see Dana too when I'm down there in August. Absolutely, he's there.
I'm pretty sure, like Costa Rica, I will still not get invited to this thing, even though it's in my backyard. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, who's taking shots now? Oh my goodness.
I'm
SBR, that's a little shot at them. Invite Dana to the
Hey,
IFBC. Come on, get him in
hey,
there.
you know what? I've carried it for a year. It's fine. It's all right. I get up at
Looking
5
forward to
a.m.
that
to.
event. Yeah,
Sorry, go
exactly.
ahead.
5 a.m. He's coming out for the hockey show 5 a.m. We could at least get him a friggin' ticket for the IFBC. Come on. Yeah.
We should do a preview show live from the Nugget.
Yeah. Exactly. But that's gonna be
That
fun. I
way, I'm
can't wait.
sure to get invited.
Yeah, exactly. Do the show live. Yeah, exactly. You're absolute. That's what's going to be. That's your task, Dana. You want in? Do it live in the outside of the Golden Nugget. There we go. Live show right there. That's going to be your golden ticket to the IFBC. But in all seriousness, we're looking forward to that. That'll be a great event in late August. I can't wait. Speaking of things I can't wait for, I can't wait for this last hockey game to break down on this card. This you don't usually get this. This is a special situation. Winner take all. Last day of the regular season, pretty much. I consider this the last day. I know there's the makeup game, Florida-Boston, but it's the only game. It's a standalone game. This feels like the last day, really. St. Louis, Colorado. Colorado minus 130 to minus 135 home favorite. Total 5.5, pretty much across the board here. It's very, very simple here in terms of what must happen. Colorado, to get in the playoffs, they not only have to win, but they must win this game within 60 minutes. It has to be a regulation victory for the Colorado Avalanche. If this game goes to overtime or a shootout and St. Louis is allowed to get at least 1 point from this game, it gives St. Louis the playoff spot and Colorado would be out. So for Colorado, it's get this thing done in 60 minutes in regulation. So to me, and I'm imploring you, think about this logically when you're handicapping this game. If you like the Colorado side, there is no reason for you to not be betting the regulation line. There's none. You don't bet the full game line. You're going to get a better price with Colorado regulation because they need to win this game in regulation. They have to. They are pulling the goalie with a minute and a half to go if this game is 2-2 with a minute and a half to go in the third period. They're pulling the goalie. They need to win in regulation and get that 3-2 goal. So you can bet Colorado regulation for sure. That's what you should be doing if you like the Avalanche side. Problem is, I'm not sure I like the Avalanche side here in this game. This is a team that's not playing good right now. They've lost 5 of their last 6. The only win was to hapless Chicago in a brutal spot. Second night of back-to-back games for Chicago on the road in altitude off the Brent Seabrook 1000th career game night. That's the only win for Colorado in their last 6 games. Varlamov out for the season. They've really sorely missed Eric Johnson. I mean, Eric Johnson's really not been that elite level defenseman since he was drafted in that first round years and years ago, but he's still an important defenseman on this Colorado team, and him being out there has really hurt them. They've given up 11 goals in their last 3 games combined on this California road swing. all of them losses to Anaheim, LA, and San Jose. Bernier's good to stick in there for a game once in a while, and he can give you a good performance. He's just not a consistent go-with guy, game in and game out. He's just not often going to do that for you. He had one nice run of extended play earlier this season where he actually was really playing well for 6, 7 games in a row, but he's not being able to replicate that right now. And these are the biggest games, pressure games, and we're not seeing Bernier rise up to that challenge right now for the Colorado Avalanche. Bad rebound control in a couple of these goals that I've seen go in against him this past week as well. He's letting out juicy, fat rebounds in front of the net. That can't happen. That's bad news. Problem is, you got goaltending on the other side that I've got concerns about. You've got Hutton trying to play through a recent injury that Allen's been so poor lately that here's Mike Yeo sticking Carter Hutton in there last night when he's coming off an injury. Yet you probably have to, because at least with Hutton, I saw better defensive structure from St. Louis last night, better defensive play in front of Carter Hutton than maybe what they had with Allen, because they didn't have the confidence. They were a little shaky in front of Allen, who's been struggling the last few games. So I fully expect, even though it's back-to-back for St. Louis, that Mike Yeo's going to go right back to the well with Carter Hutton tonight after he was getting them the win against the Chicago Blackhawks last night. So I think that's what you're going to see, a Hutton versus Bernier matchup in net. I'm not betting this game side or total. I don't trust St. Louis back to back, but I'm not laying minus 135 with Colorado. I mean, their home record's been great, but this is not a minus 135 team to lay with right now. Team that's, facing pressure of trying to get in, and they're not reacting to that pressure and then rising up to that pressure very well the last few games. So sidewise, I'm totally out of this game, but I will be watching it. Very interested to see what happens. Lean slightly ever. I think honestly, when a push comes to shove, St. Louis will get in. I still think you got to trust St. Louis defensively just a little bit more than Colorado. The key is take Rantanen, McKinnon, Landeskog out of the equation. Make sure you clamp down on them. If you're the St. Louis Blues tonight, you're probably going to have a good chance, because secondary offense from Colorado sometimes can be a problem. Tyson Jost has actually played pretty well lately for them, Kerfoot at times, but take away Landeskog, McKinnon, and Rantanen, keep them off the score sheet. Neutralize them to a certain degree. You've got a decent chance here if you're St. Louis. But it's a great game. You don't often get these. Last game of the regular season, game 82, two teams head to head, trying to get into the playoffs, trying to get that final spot. It'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait to watch it. Dana Lane, this is his third and final game on the card. He's picked a big one, Colorado and St. Louis. Who's getting in, Dana, and what do you like here?
It's absolutely incredible, the difference between the NHL and the NBA, and maybe it's just because I'm in it more in the NHL than I am in the NBA. But I mean, it comes down to this sort of game to win and get in, basically. But nobody's talking about the Wizards and the Bucks for the last spot in the or nobody's talking about the last spot in the East. I know the Wizards and the Bucks are within a half game of each other, but nobody's talking about those sorts of games. And this is why the NHL, to me, it's so perplexing why it's not a bigger league than it is. And I think, in all honesty, that this league has certainly gotten a push this year. I think Vegas has given the NHL a much needed push. In fact, I thought before that the NHL needed Vegas way more than Vegas needed the NHL, and I think that's worked out. But anyway, as far as this game is concerned, you've said it all as far as the winner gets in, and the Avs are going to have some injuries with the Eric Johnson injury, and Varlamov is out, of course, but they still do have Nathan McKinnon, who is in a little bit of a scoring slump, not from an assist standpoint, but certainly from a goal scored standpoint. But he's typically had pretty good games against the St. Louis Blues, and this is a guy that has become one of the league's best pure scorers that maybe nobody knows about. I mean, if you line these two teams up and said who's the best player, I think Tarasenko's name would probably come out a lot more than McKinnon. But this is a game where Colorado obviously has a home ice advantage, which has been very friendly to them. In fact, only Vegas and Winnipeg have won more games in the Western Conference at home than Colorado. And I think the difference between this game tonight is definitely going to be the play of the Colorado Avalanche special team. So I'm on the Avalanche to win tonight.
All right, Colorado Dana Lane, big call because of the fact I remember months ago he talked about I love this St. Louis team and one of the teams that he was really fond of and could make a deep playoff run. But yeah, sometimes you see what plays out and you've got to change your opinion at times, and that's the way it is. I agree. I mean, St. Louis has been hard to trust them. It's been a little blip of uptick of play. And then, bam! It hits them again, and they go on a little bit of a funk again. There's been that lack of consistency, and really the problems in the pipes have been a big issue with the St. Louis Blues. I mean, Allen and Hutton are just not these guys that are consistently for a long stretch of time able to excel and play at their absolute best. Like I say, and that's why we like having a show like this where you've got 3, 4 guys. We all have different thoughts, different opinions. Some games we love, some games we don't. This is a game I absolutely do not like from a betting perspective. I can't touch this game at all because I don't trust the St. Louis side of the equation, and I don't want to lay anything with Colorado in a pressure spot like this, which is something they haven't really been in a lot over the years, and especially lately, they've not shown me a lot. So it's a game that right away, it's the game of the night to watch, but unfortunately for me, betting it, not loving it. But Dana likes Colorado. If you want to tail that play, there you go. Dana liking Colorado to get the job done tonight, minus 135. Although, Dana, are you betting this? I got to ask you this. Are you betting this in regulation? I hope you are.
I listen. I don't try to muddy things up too much. I mean, I think Colorado's gonna. I think they're going to have a two goal lead anyway. I don't think it's gonna come down to. I don't even have like in the apps that I have here in Vegas. I don't have that regulation option, so I don't really
Ah,
look for it.
there you go. Well, if you do, get it because the Colorado's done. The stick a fork in Colorado. They're done if this game goes to overtime. They have to win this game in regulation time. So if you've got that opportunity, regulation lines, three-way regulation line, if you can find it, most of the offshore books have it. Go for it because you're going to get a better price than the minus 135 full game money line price that's staring you out there right now on the Colorado Avalanche side. So again, regulation. Just my thought that if you like Colorado, take that option if it is available to you. All right, that's going to wrap up our Saturday card. It's been a great show. We're going to wrap it up now with best bets to wrap up the show, our final Saturday show of the regular season, but not the final show for the Ice Guys. We are back in the playoffs. We're back Tuesday with a playoff preview show. We're going to hear something definitive by Monday from the SBR video folks in terms of scheduling beyond Tuesday. So right now, the only thing set in stone is the Tuesday playoff preview show, and we'll take it day by day from there. But that's going to be a fun show. Futures, series prices, we'll be breaking it all down. Probably get into game one matchups on Wednesday. I'm pretty sure as of right now, we're not going to have a show Wednesday. We're going to do Tuesday, Thursday. So any game ones that take place on Wednesday, we'll talk about them on the Tuesday preview show. We'll preview those Wednesday game one matchups, and then Thursday we'll be back and we'll do game ones of the Thursday series that get underway that night. And we'll break those down right here on the NHL Ice Guys. All right, it's best bets time. Let's start with Alex B. Smith. What do you got for your final best bet of the Saturday regular season?
I'm going with the Blackhawks and the Jets over 6. You can find it at around minus $1.05. We've seen the Hawks 7 of the last 8 games on the road have gone over the total. Winnipeg 10 of the last 13 at home gone over. Like I said, it's kind of going to be more of a freewheeling game. Hawks got nothing to play for. Jets already just kind of getting ready for the playoffs. So I like the over 6 as my best bet tonight.
All right, over 6. Winnipeg and Chicago, best bet for Alex B. Smith. Dana Lane, what do you got for best bet?
Yeah, well, we see very favorable numbers for the Nashville Predators coming out now. They're minus $1.17 at Pinnacle, minus $1.20 at Five Dimes, which I love. Let's keep in mind in this series, it really hasn't even been close. I mean, Columbus has dropped 23 of their last 27 meetings at Bridgestone Arena, so there's no way I'm going against that trend tonight.
All right, Nashville minus 120 for Dana, best bet. And one of the games that interests me the most is popped. They're all coming out, so that's what's good. We extended the show by about 15 minutes, went about 15 minutes longer than normal, and now we got lines everywhere popping up. So it's good we went a little longer today. Let's go with the Vegas Golden Knights minus 125 at Heritage Sports against the Calgary Flames. That's not bad, actually, that price. Minus 125, Vegas against Calgary. Calgary, what can you say? Awful stuff other than one win, one lucky as shit win against Edmonton where Cam Talbot stunk in the first, period of that game, got pulled, and then Edmonton dominated them and just couldn't tie that game after that. Calgary hung on to win. That's like the only win in since, the oblivion for the Calgary Flames recently. That's it. So I got no problem going against them one more time here. Vegas, I think, off the loss against Edmonton. Let's sharpen up, fine tune our game for the playoffs. Let's get a nice little good game under our belt going into the playoffs, our first playoffs in our first year as a franchise as Pacific Division champions. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's been amazing, that story. Vegas, minus 125 at Heritage Sports. Best price out there. Vegas, minus 125, my best bet for the Saturday card. And that's going to wrap up the show and the regular season of the SBR NHL Ice Guys. It's been a great regular season. We're just getting started. Believe me, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here throughout the playoffs, breaking it down at least 3 days a week, if not more. Again, scheduled TBA, TBD, to be announced, to be determined. We'll have more info on that. As of right now, we've got Tuesday and Thursday shows coming up this week. Tuesday preview show. We'll also look at the Wednesday game ones. Thursday show, we'll look at the game ones for Thursday as well on that day. So again, Tuesday, Thursday, we will be back our normal days. As of right now, it's still going to be 9 a.m., although we are looking toward potentially, if SBR can fit it and juggle their schedule, at maybe doing a couple of playoff shows of the Ice Guys in the afternoon later in the day. I know Dana Lane's probably just giddy as hell hearing that possibility. So there we go. A possibility. We might be doing some shows later in the day. Not for sure. We'll wait to see on that, but a possibility. But we will be back Tuesday, Thursday this week with our first playoff editions of the SBR NHL Ice Guys. Throughout the regular season, a big hearty thank you to everyone in the chat, everyone that's tuning in, watching the show on a daily basis. Give it a thumbs up every day if you're enjoying what we're doing. We really do appreciate it. We will be back on Tuesday for our playoff preview show. We hope you join us then. For Dana Lane and for Alex B. Smith and for Andrew McGinnis, who hopefully will be back with us on Tuesday, I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the conclusion of the NHL regular season. It's playoff time, baby. We'll see you again on Tuesday.